Good morning, my name is Jordan Cummings, and today we will be talking about the backward design. So our first question is, what is the backward design? The backward design is a three-stage process that start with goals and work backwards to plan a lesson. So the first stage, stage 1, is to identify what you are wanting your learners to understand as the desired learning outcome. Stage 2 determines evidence learning needs to start learning progress. And Stage 3, plan and design learning activities that show the learned understanding that you want from your students. So we're going to talk a little bit about Stage 1. Stage 1 is what you want your learners to understand as the desired learning outcome. So when you're planning your lesson plans for Stage 1, you are focusing on the desired learning outcome and the learning objective. What are your learners needed to be taught for understanding? And what are the essential questions within the lesson? What is important to know within the lesson and what to do? For Stage 2 is the evidence learning needs to start the learning progress. So assessment, evidence piece, acceptable evidence, and what is the learner's role? How much evidence is needed to be collected is what you're focusing on in the Stage 2 backward design process. Stage 3 is the design learning activities that show the learned understanding from your students. So in Stage 3, you're going to plan learning experiences and instruction, support, define curriculum, building comprehension and knowledge of understanding. You're making meaning of the lesson and pulling it all together. So why is the backward design effective? It provides a vision outcome for learners, implies evidence learners produce, leads to planning activities, resources, and technology support. These strategies are in alignment. So we are going to make a lesson and we'll work through it together. So for Stage 1, as an example, I pulled together the TEKS for Kindergarten 2B. The TEK is to read, write, and represent whole numbers from 0 to at least 20. With and without objects or pictures. The learning objective, students will read, write, and represent whole numbers 0 through 20. What are learners needed to be taught for the understanding? Students will need to be taught how to read, write, and represent the whole numbers 0 through 20. What are the essential questions within the lesson? So how do we write numbers, how can we represent numbers, and how do we read numbers? What is important to know within the lesson and do. Students must know how to read numbers 0 through 20, write numbers 0 through 20, and represent numbers 0 through 20. For Stage 2, it's really focusing on your assessment piece. So the assessment evidence piece will be for students to be able to read, write, and represent numbers 0 through 20, through creating their own math journal to represent numbers 0 through 20. Acceptable evidence, students create 1 page per number 0 through 20 to read, write, and represent numbers. So for example, I put number 5. We'll have 1 page in the math journal that shows how to write the number 5, represent the number 5 through a picture, and students can choose another way to represent 5, such as drawing 5 dots on a dice or 5 tally marks. So what is the learner's role? Is another focus that you want to see for your assessment piece. The learner's role is to create an understanding of knowledge of numbers 0 through 20 through creating a math journal to be able to use as a math toolkit to refer to as needed. How much evidence is needed to be collected? So I put overall the evidence collected will be 20 pages in a math journal for each student. So for the overall assessment, the kiddos are making a math journal 0 through 20, and on each page they're going to have say number 0, and like kind of creating their own anchor charts for them to refer back to. For stage 3, so you're pulling everything together, your whole lesson plan and what you're going to be teaching. So plan learning experiences and instruction. Teacher will use read aloud books to connect to real life number experiences. They can sing number songs with students. Students will act out number problems. Teachers will skywrite numbers with the students. Students will represent numbers with manipulatives. Students will work on Whiteboard app on the iPad to show how to read, write, and represent numbers 0 through 20. Support defined curriculum. Curriculum will be from hands-on learning activities within the whole group interaction and through a line, scope, and sequence. Extra resources will be through Envision MathBook to pull for individual learning data sheets. Building comprehension and knowledge of understanding. Teacher will pull small groups for intervention to connect learning gaps and check for understanding on how to read, write, and represent numbers 0 through 20. Make meaning of the lesson. Students will be given multiple learning resources to be able to connect learning of numbers 0 through 20 through real life and hands-on engaging learning experiences. So in conclusion, the backward design is a purposeful task analysis to be accomplished and equip students to build a desired and learning outcome. And over here on this chart, it kind of starts with like the stage 1, 2, and 3 that we talked about. So stage 1 is kind of identify your desired results, your knowledge, skills, and behavioral changes. Stage 2 is kind of like determine your acceptable evidence within your lesson, your assessment, your student portfolio and notes that you're wanting to gather, data on of your students. And then stage 3 under plan is learning experiences, instruction, and resources. So that is an overall equipment of backward design. Thank you.